Our next session, South Africa's Food Couriers Fight for Safety, is brought to you in partnership with our media partner, Context. Please welcome Context's Deputy Editor-in-Chief, Barry Malone, to the stage.
Hello. Hi, everybody. As you've just heard, my name is Barry Malone. I'm the Deputy Editor-in-Chief of Context, and we're really proud to say that Context is the media partner for the Trust Conference this year. I'm a relatively normal guy with a relatively normal salary, but sometimes I feel like I live the life of a multimillionaire. If I need to go somewhere, I can press a button on my phone and my own personal chauffeur shows up to my house. I mean, when did that start happening? If a book comes out that I'm particularly interested in reading, again, I can press a button on my phone and it will come to my doorstep, sometimes even on the same day. There are times at midnight where I think what I need more than anything else in the world is a pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream. And if I want that, again, I can press a button and someone brings it to my door. I know what you're thinking. You're wondering if I eat the pint of ice cream in one sitting. I do, and please don't judge me. But if I'm able to access that kind of a life that a few years ago only somebody very rich would have been able to access, then somebody's got to be paying the price for that, right? Context South Africa correspondent Kim Harrisberg recently met some of those people, the people who pay the price for others' convenience. We're going to show you Kim's report, and then I'm going to come back up on the stage with Kim and ask her some questions. So I hope you find it interesting.
We lost 3 drivers on duty. Another one we just passed last year.
There is no financial support that you get from Uber. It's very tough. Your life is very much on a risk.
We're heading to, I call it like a driver's commune, but it's basically where drivers from mainly Uganda are living together behind a car wash.
In 2019, I met Dennis Sabiti here for a story. This was shortly after he had had a motorbike accident while delivering for Uber Eats.
I lost my sight, I can't drive. It's not easy to get a job. You know, no one is going to employ you with one eye. Everyone looks at your eyes. They ignore you, they don't care about you. So life is hard.
He's literally survived off the kindness of strangers who've taken him in, helped shelter him, helped feed him.
It's like a family here, we're like a family, because if there's a problem, we all gather here. You see all this place during night, no? It becomes a parking place for the bikes and cars. From there, all this side, all. If you come at night, you find more than 100 bikes here. They park here, security. And when they're here, they feel comfortable, they feel like they're at home. When they are off, they just come and play here.
We've met dozens of gig workers like Dennis while reporting on this story over the last few years.
Like when we interview some of these guys, they tell you that they're getting a little like over $1 per delivery.
Many of these drivers are migrants from poorer neighboring countries looking for work, but there are very few job prospects here.
There's really high levels of xenophobia in South Africa. So for these drivers who maybe have a basic level of English, it's going to be difficult to find other work.
I mean, we're talking about people who are probably 95% foreign nationals.
778?
Yes.
The food delivery industry, these apps have become the only source of income, the only source of livelihood that many of these drivers or many people have.
I came from Zimbabwe here to study, but I couldn't find the job.
I have a diploma in food science and certificate in massage and reflexology.
Before I was working in a shell garage.
Many of these drivers are risking their lives every day, and they are demanding better protections from big companies who are projected to bring in $3.6 billion in revenue by 2029.
It's an incredibly dangerous job for a few reasons. The first is the condition of our roads.
Joburg CBD, for instance, where most of these bikers operate, there's a lot of potholes. The road surface itself is not as smooth.
Especially when you're driving at night, you can't see maybe there's a pothole. You just fall into a pothole and then sometimes you break your leg or something.
But the biggest hazard for these drivers isn't the roads, it's the cars.
They make it hard for us to drive.
We live in a country with extremely high crime rates, and criminals are very creative.
They get exposed to crime because they're being targeted. Thieves out there want their bikes because they see them as like easy targets.
There are some unsafe locations that we deliver to. So drivers get robbed, they get their bikes taken, they get their cell phones, their possession.
A lot of these companies are very careful about what they will call them. They'll never say employees because they aren't legally employees.
To hold Uber accountable as drivers is difficult because Uber's got the money. It will be like trying to pull down an elephant alone.
In 2023, Uber Eats drivers tried to organize a formal union, but their efforts have so far been futile because South African labor laws do not recognize independent contractors as workers.
The informality of their work means it's harder to organize collectively. They're not recognized by any of the national unions, so they aren't able to demand basic rights like health and theft insurance or even sick leave.
We would love to get a comment from Uber just to better understand what the company is doing to protect the lives of these drivers on the roads.
It will be great if you can share your email with us, Kim, so that we can get with a proper answer if that's okay.
The truth is, I never got any support from Uber. I never got anything. I never.
The companies have proven that they cannot help them. The government has proven that it cannot help them.
So what we've seen is that there's a lot of informal unions that these drivers have created.
We're going to Rosebank Mall. It's like a big hub where delivery drivers in Rosebank hang out.
What happened yesterday, big man?
Helen Joseph place late.
This is not safe.
Big man. You can imagine it was very late.
Our group is Team, the Zone Drivers too. For now, there is 200 members. We are on different platforms, Facebook and on WhatsApp also.
These groups are very important for the drivers because it is the only space where they can find help.
We give support our drivers We collect the money and we give to the driver. We visit the driver, house, hospital. We support them. You're stuck on the roads, your bike is not moving. We can come, we assist you. And we assist the funeral. We send the body home. Others, they are here by cemetery emergency.
Drive safe on the road, big man.
Okay,
All right,
guys.
cheers. See you tomorrow, big man.
There's no solution. We keep on running from 0 to 0, and it's not good.
The companies which are employing these people, they should take care of them because they are also human beings.
Many guys lose their life, they die of accident. Since the accident, life has never been the same. But me, I thank God because I still have life.
Thank you, Kim, for that excellent report. It was disturbing in so many ways. I'm going to start in a slightly odd place, which is I'm going to point out to the audience that you have a rather large bandage on your finger. Maybe you want to show them. Just before me and Kim came up on stage, we were having a chat about her finger, and Kim was telling me how this kind of made you look at the story that you'd reported in a different way, or reminded you of reporting the story somehow.
Yes, exactly. The week that we were working on the script for this documentary, I managed to partially amputate my finger
No,
in our gate at home, which is not something I would recommend. But it was significant to me because I saw firsthand the type of support I was able to get. I was rushed to the hospital where I had medical insurance, which was covered by my work, which enabled me to get emergency surgery to reattach the finger. It is reattached, I want everyone to know that. And I was then able to take a week off of work to recover from the surgery. Had I not been able to work, I would have had access to disability insurance, which is also covered by my work. And even when I was working on the investigation, I was on maternity leave. I voluntarily came back to assist with the story because it's a story close to my heart. But I was able to become a mother and report on a story that meant a lot to me while still receiving an income. And I think going through this personal experience alongside my professional one really spotlighted the importance of having these safety nets as a worker. As an employee, being able to still earn a salary, still be a human being, going through things like accidents, pregnancy, motherhood, being sick and having that support, it just felt all that more personal, going through it while we worked on this documentary. So it wasn't a pleasant experience, but it did really drive home the importance of us continuing to cover stories like this and the importance of keeping a spotlight on sectors like the gig economy.
A lot of work went into this. You interviewed a lot of different drivers, right? I think you interviewed more than 30?
Yes, yeah. It was.
How did you gain their trust and make them talk to you?
Yes, it took time. It took a lot of time because I think what is significant about the gig economy is it is surrounded by a culture of fear. That's what I've noticed as a journalist when I've reported on different stories related to the gig economy. This is because workers such as food couriers are never completely sure how long they will still be able to use the app. They're not sure how the algorithms work. They're not sure if they're going to get a bad rating, will they be kicked off the app? If they're in an accident, will they be kicked off until their bikes are repaired? And so this culture of fear really stops drivers from speaking out. So it took time. I was sometimes just going to petrol stations, introducing myself, hanging out with some drivers, convincing them that I want to hear their stories. We're not here to expose them. I'm not a spy for any of the platforms or a spy for government or anything like that. We just wanted to hear their stories because it's a sector that's grown so quickly in South Africa and around the world, and we want to understand who are the people delivering the food to our front doors. And so once that trust was gained, I was added to some of these WhatsApp groups that the drivers mentioned, which can have hundreds of drivers and a lot of graphic content of accidents taking place daily or weekly. And then interviews, it kind of started rolling in that sense. Facebook pages. My colleague Avi, who spoke to everyone yesterday, we worked on the story originally together in 2020, and he used LinkedIn to contact former employees at Uber and other companies who shared stories with him. So we managed to use different social media channels to connect with these drivers. And then going to some of these communes that I mentioned, which at times, I would walk in and it would look like a medical rehab center. Drivers would be, these young men from neighboring African countries would be coming out on crutches, stitches in their heads, bandages, showing me their x-rays. And it was disturbing. I've seen many accidents myself on the road.
You've personally seen accidents?
Maybe half a dozen.
Wow.
I've seen a dead body on the roads in Johannesburg. And the scary thing for me is that it is almost becoming normalized, and it's a sector that is growing in many ways in an unchecked fashion. And I think, just in the global south specifically, where there's such high levels of informality and such high levels of unemployment, people need the jobs. But what kind of jobs are they? Is any work good work? These are kind of the questions we're trying to answer at Context and, around the world, from South Africa to India and Vietnam and beyond. So,
we saw in the footage there that you found it difficult to get comment from some of the companies, right? I mean, where do you see this going? Is there help that these drivers will be able to get the protections that they need? Or is there hope, that they'll be able to get those protections?
I am tentatively optimistic. When we first reported on the story in 2020, Uber engaged a lot with our questions, and we had a lot of questions, and they did answer them one by one. And we critiqued, I guess, an element of the insurance policy in one of our stories, which didn't really protect drivers as much as they said it would. And Uber ended up tweaking that insurance policy, so drivers could benefit after 24 hours in hospital as opposed to 48 hours in hospital. And that was really encouraging for us to see a platform respond to our reporting in that way. I think, in many ways, these drivers rely on one another. They're each other's families, they're fundraising for one another, they have this really strong support system. But I think more needs to change. There are some instances of local apps being made, for example, a domestic workers app being made by domestic workers in South Africa.
Oh, wow.
And I think these things are hopeful. There's talk of class action lawsuits, of drivers coming together to try and legally change, what they are entitled to as gig workers. But it's an industry, it's in the name, gig work. It was never meant to be full-time work, but that's what it became almost immediately. And I think it's just an important thing to keep questioning, and these drivers are questioning it. They're trying hard to create change. They're trying hard to create visibility while not being too visible, because most of them are migrants and refugees. And I think the platforms know this. They know there's a culture of fear, and that it takes a lot for the drivers to push for recognition. So I think that's the story we were trying to tell here, is that these drivers are trying to change things, but they can't do it alone. It has to happen with government. It has to happen with these platforms, hearing what they are calling for. And I think as journalists, it's our duty to keep interrogating this type of employment, which has ballooned around the world, often with little examination about what the repercussions mean for workers' rights.
Yeah, and I think at Context we've done a lot of work on gig workers, and I know you're going to keep following up on this issue and see how things evolve. Yeah. Okay, there should be a QR code that I'm going to make you all scan. Kim's video is part of a series that we're doing at Context with Rest of World. It's called Gig Workers Rising. So we've done Kim's video, we've also done a report from India, we've done a report from Vietnam, and we have another report coming from Mexico. I'm watching you, and if you're not scanning that code, I'm going to get very angry. No, but it's well worth watching the other reports. And while you're there, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Smart, engaged people like you are actually exactly the audience we're looking for. So yeah, we'd really appreciate it if you watched. Thank you, Kim, and thanks everybody for listening.
Thanks, Barry.